On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the General Secretary of NASU, who is also the Deputy President of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He will be telling us why it is important for us to have more decent work in Nigeria and why the Labour Center had to report state governments who refused to pay workers' salaries as it went due. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, we all know that you're part of the committee, not the committee now, but you're part of the group representing and also ensuring that the standard application process is actually effective here. And I know that Nigeria actually made a position. Can you tell us about the hearings?
Yeah, we Committee on Application of Standards. It's a committee that has been there for years, and this committee is saddled with the responsibility of dealing with, protests, petitions that comes from various countries that are part of the ILO, and it can be coming from the workers' group, the government, and the employers. And Nigeria has been on the Committee of Experts list for a while over some infractions, and the Nigerian government have not been able to sufficiently address those issues. And as we are moving on, there are new developments, and what we brought before the Committee on Application of Standards this year are majorly infractions committed by states. Because you know that the federal government is not really liable as far as regular payment of salaries is concerned, but the states have not been, they've not shown responsibility, despite the support and assistance that has been extended to them by the federal government in terms of the bailouts, 3 consecutive bailouts, and then the Paris refund, which was also released to the states. So what Labour did this year was to use that unresolved experts committee report that have not been totally resolved by the federal government to now bring new infractions on Convention 87 and 98 on freedom of association and collective bargaining. Specifically, we reported the situation in Kaduna State, where about 40,000 workers were, without following any known process, thrown into the unemployment market, sacked by the Kaduna State government. We have about 22,000 teachers, 5,000 from local government, about 5,000 plus from the core civil service, and the others from the tertiary institutions funded by the Kaduna State government. And we also reported the effort made by the Federal Ministry of Labour to get the matter resolved, but without any success. We also went further to report on the fact that the Kaduna State government embarked on a deliberate mission to scuttle trade union activities by, 1, deducting check-off dues from unions for about 7 months and refusing to release those dues. 2, we also reported the fact that without any justification, the Kaduna State government directed that no further check-off dues be deducted for any union in Kaduna. And that for us is really embarrassing, because the state government doesn't have such powers, because Labour is on the exclusive list. What we expect moving forward, we specifically demanded that the ILO should send an high-powered mission to Nigeria to, ascertain the veracity or otherwise of what we are saying, and to also see whether government is also playing its own part of the bargain. And we expect that with the involvement of the ILO, that those governments will be called back to what's ensuring that whatever is due to workers in terms of their emoluments are settled.
I'll quickly move to the issue of minimum wage and the possibility that workers might not start to receive a new wage come September. What's your take on this?
No, for us it's really shocking, because we had an understanding at the tripartite committee level that everything about this minimum wage will be concluded by September. And we also had assurance from the National Assembly leadership. They told us that as soon as we conclude this negotiation and submit our report to Mr. President, and the executive, pass it on to them, that they are not going to waste any time. So the press statement credited to the Minister of Labour and Employment took us by surprise, because our conviction is that all of this will be concluded. And it's important for all of this to be concluded by September, because if it is not so concluded, you know that campaigns for election will be on top gear, and that will destroy a whole lot of things. So our position as Labour is that this has to be concluded, and it must be concluded.
Talking about decent work, if we don't have a new minimum wage anytime soon, how do you think this will be visible in the country?
Well, we will have a minimum wage very soon, but I think the issue of of decent work even goes beyond minimum wage. Decent work agenda is something that the ILO has canvassed over the years, but we have not been able to get there even in our country. And that's the basic fact is that we need to ensure that the pay of an average Nigerian worker is enhanced, the pay is enhanced, the environment is conducive, there is security of employment. Today, you can't guarantee security of employment because of the arbitrariness of employers, particularly state governments. And decent job cannot be guaranteed in an atmosphere where salaries are not paid as at when they are supposed to be paid. So we have a whole lot of mileage to cover as far as decent job agenda, decent work agenda is concerned in our country. And I think that there must be conscious effort to address some of those gaps that I've listed: refusal to pay salaries as when they are supposed to be paid, security of employment, then environment where people work, even the value of our currency. It also plays a big role when you talk about decent job. One of the things that we are confronted with today also in our country is that there is what we can conveniently refer to as brain drain, and there is migration of quality professionals because of the fact that the incentive and motivation is not there. You have highly qualified professionals who are not adequately remunerated. They look outside the country, the shores of the country, to go and find better job and better pay. So I think that decent job agenda is very important, but we have a lot to do to be able to attain the desired objectives in that direction.
Now that we know that we don't have a great atmosphere when it comes to decent work, and we know that poverty is the order of the day, and we also know that this can also translate or is even translating into child labor at the moment. What do you think can be done so that we are not left behind in ensuring that child labor is eradicated?
Well, the problem of child labor is also as a result of the level of poverty that is prevalent within the society. When the father and the mother, you call them parents, are not able to fend for themselves, what they do is send those small children to the streets, either to beg or to trade in petty things for them to earn a living. I think for you to even adequately address the problem of child labor, you must deliberately work towards the enhancements of the living standard of an average Nigerian. Until that is done, I don't see us being able to stop this.
Okay, there are several action that has been suspended by your union. You are involved in the JOESU strike and also the university strike. What's your position? You suspended JOESU strike, and your members in the university sector are already agitating once again. Is there any ultimatum, or is the government trying to respond to your request?
Well, for JOESU, there was a court order which we respected and suspended the strike, and the court has also been helpful. The court had put in place an alternative dispute resolution committee, which then drew its membership from JOESU, government, and even the court. So the court has an unbiased arbiter. We are expecting that something positive will come out of that. So that's why we suspended the strike, even though we have been threatened left, right, and center by the Minister of Health with the problem of no work, no pay, SAG. All of that itself doesn't address anything. If you enter into an agreement with the trade union, you don't turn around and be using boldface and try to repudiate the agreement. It doesn't show good leadership. And this unnecessary rivalry in the health sector, when JOESU is on strike, the enemy will start making noise. For us, it doesn't make sense. Even culturally and traditionally, it's alien to our culture. If somebody is able to work and secure something, then you start crying that the other person must not get it. It doesn't make sense. If you know the other person is aspiring to get what you are getting, you ask for more. That's what it makes sense. And then the tragedy of the situation is that the Minister of Health is a doctor, the Minister of Labor is a doctor. So clearly, the other health professionals who are in JOESU will say we'll pass a vote of no confidence on them, because the allegiance is to their constituency. That's for JOESU. For the university, the non-teaching staff in the university, of course, the problem also has to do with the government not keeping faith with agreement they signed with us. They said we should give them, they asked us to suspend the strike, we should give them 5 weeks. We are in the 12th week now. Nothing has been done. If we start the strike again, they call us names. Government must learn to respect agreements they freely entered into. If they don't, there's no way you can stop the unions.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.